This week's show with Andrea Santiamo, one of the new owners and the editor of Needlepoint Now magazine, is sponsored by Cyberpointers and Sassy Jack's Stitchery. Cyberpointers is the only online chapter of the American Needlepoint Guild. Membership is open to all members of the National A&G organization, and meetings are conducted every other month and run completely online via an email groups I/O program. Cyberpointers provides stitching opportunities through meeting programs and workshops. Upcoming meeting programs include Corners and Curves by Lorene Salt, led by chapter member Terry Sanders, Dia Variations by Kate Festo, in which you'll learn rosashi on traditional Japanese gauze, Ornaway Americana Style by Jennifer Reifenberg, which brings silk and metal techniques of motif-based pattern couching to a folk art, Americana style, and Fantastic by Debbie Rowley. Swirls of bold colors pop in this octagon of fan shapes, creating a fantastic project. Several sizes and shapes of Jessica's, Amadeus stitches, and fern stitches provide an opportunity to learn symmetry and ease of stitching. Workshops planned for the 2023-2024 calendar include designs from Curdy Biggs, Dawn Donnelly, Tony Gertis, Kathy Reese, and Gail Stafford. Be sure to check out Cyberpointers' website at cyberpointers.org. Also sponsoring this week's show is Sassy Jack Stitchery. If you've ever done remodeling, especially on a historic structure, you fully understand what Kim and Company are dealing with as they work to open their new store in the Baird House. According to a recent report from Kim, they are just about done clearing hurdles and the shop opening is on the horizon. Join the Sassy Jack's Facebook page to get the latest information. And in the meantime, be sure to check out sassyjackstitchery.com for a broad selection of charts, including the full collection of sassafras samplers. While you're there, join the Cosmos Thread Club. It's a great way to build up a stash of beautiful cotton floss. If your significant other is wondering what to buy you for your birthday, Valentine's Day, or any other holiday, they can't go wrong with a Sassy Jack's gift certificate. Make Sassy Jack Stitchery your local needlework store by visiting the website at sassyjackstitchery.com. And now, on to our conversation with Andrea Santiamo. Welcome back. I'm Gary Parr.
And I'm Beth Ellicott.
You're listening to Fiber Talk, the twice-weekly podcast for the needlework artists. Our artist this week, the new owner and editor of Needlepoint Now, Andrea Santiamo. Andrea, welcome.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
Wow, you bought a magazine.
Yes, we did. And big shoes to fill with Elizabeth. So
Yep. A lot of years she had that.
She did. She did a great job with it.
Yep.
So
how does this come about that you decide to buy the magazine? You guys just sitting around killing time and need something to do, or?
Actually, I retired from the Board of Education. I was a special ed teacher. I was in conversation with Elizabeth. That night I had a conversation with my daughter, who's a millennial. You know, she's young. She's also a stitcher. And I asked if she would be interested in doing it. She was. I then spoke with Karen Sanacola, who she and I did a lot of work together for years on charity events. And I asked her if she would be interested. And the three of us all partnered up to take on the challenge.
Quite a challenge to put out a magazine.
It is. It's different than anything all of us have. I was a special ed teacher. Karen works with hospital administration and overseeing doctors' offices. And my daughter is in fashion. She works for Karl Lagerfeld of Paris in his corporate office. So we have all different, but our common denominator is that we all have a love for needlepoint.
Yeah. So no magazine publishing background then?
No magazine publishing. Yeah. I was an editor of my yearbooks for both high school and college. Other than that, just a love of needlepoint and wanting to promote it.
Oh, that's great. So you needlepointer from day one, or have you progressed through several categories?
I've been needlepointing since I'm about 8.
There we go.
Yeah. Nobody in my family needlepointed, but my mom and my grandmother were very creative. They were craftsy, and they encouraged me to do the same. And I picked up a canvas, and the lady at the store taught me how to do, your basic continental. And then that time it was in hand stitching, and I just took it from there. And as I started reading, and I started looking at books, and I started adding some to my repertoire of stitches, and I've developed over the years.
That's great. Wow. But see, we run into this all the time. It's the creative families.
Right.
It's the environment more than it is whatever the art form. Yeah.
Well, I think it has to be nurtured, right? So
Right.
you have people surrounding you to, encourage you to do that kind of work, right? So, and I have a lot of support even from my family. My brother and my sister-in-law, the best thing you could give them is one a needlepoint for Christmas. The year I didn't give them a needlepoint, they're like, "What happened to my gift?" So.
Well, that's nice that they appreciate it still too, instead of the.
It's a lot of work. So, you give it to people who you appreciate, as I'm sure, right? You give it to people who understand the time. And so it is nice when the family members all realize, my nieces and nephews were getting married. They all wanted the Christmas stockings, and they're like, all right, you're going to take care of that, right? So, but there'll be something that they have forever, which is a great thing.
Right.
That's the beauty of needlepoint, right?
Yep.
It is.
Yeah, you'll take care of that. Yeah, I'll have that for you next month. No problem.
Yeah, it was funny because, my daughter just got married, and I made a pillow for every holiday and every season. So I had a huge display, and I drew a lot of interest at the shower with people who are now interested in joining needlepoint because they didn't think it was that kind. Needlepoint's changed over the years and what they imagine it to be, So it's always nice when people appreciate what you've done.
Yep. Yeah, it has changed a lot. I mean, that was what I first started doing on, what was it, 13 count with wool thread. Yeah.
Wool thread in hand, right? You didn't use boards back in the day, right?
Nope.
So.
Right. I was helping clean my mother's house, and I came across a lot of my old first things that I stitched. She still had them all. And I was like, oh, things have changed since.
100%. Sure. I mean, even just the type of stitches that you do, and you did a basic stitch, and you thought what you were doing as a basic stitch. Even threads. I remember walking into the Staten Island store, and there was pearl cotton, there was patent Ann, and there was Krynic, and the ribbon was on a roll, if you remember back in the day, and they had the netting that went over it to keep it contained. It's changed. So.
And for the better. The better, I think.
And for the better, right. It's evolved. Like everything else, it evolves.
Now, do you do primarily painted canvas?
I do primarily painted, but I also do my own design work on some counted. I do a lot of Bargello designs. I happen to like Bargello. I happen to think, I combine some of the stitches, I combine some of the patterns, but I do primarily, painted pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes.
Yeah, Bargello, that was one of, after my initial tent stitch, that I actually had it on a scroll frame, and when I took it off, it became a diamond instead of a square. But
happens, right? Yeah, I think it's a lot easier to do Bargello now than it was back in the day, because you have the bars and everything else.
Yeah.
So I've done some of my own painting on canvases, and definitely the Bargello's design. So I come up with some things, and I've taught at a shop in New Jersey. So I sometimes will design the piece that they do so that they can learn a variety of stitches.
That's great.
Well, the first time I came across you was when you offered the patchwork of peace, the revised,
Right. It was a revised version. And actually, that's how Karen got involved with needlepoint. She saw I posted a picture of a design that I had stitched, and she's like, I really want to learn how to do needlepoint. I did it years ago. I want to come back. And I'm like, okay. I said, well, we're doing, the patchwork of peace. And it'll give you a lot of stitches and you'll learn. And she said it was probably the best thing she's ever done because it was so many stitches, and we revised the old guide, and it was a lot of people doing it across the country. I think we had something like 400 people, a little over 400 people doing it. So it was fun.
Well, yeah. I haven't done mine yet. It's still sitting, but I did find it. So that's always a good sign.
I always say, someday you pick it up and you'll know it's the right time to start stitching it, right?
Right. Absolutely.
I donated mine to a charity where they auctioned it off.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so then your daughter, you pass this on to your daughter too. That's it's always a crapshoot as to whether the kids pick it up. So she
started doing it when she was little, and then she's, every once in a while life gets busy. I mean, it's like even for us adults, right? Hit different stages of our lives and we put it down. And she picked it up again, and she just got married in October, and she made each one of the bridesmaids a clutch.
Oh.
It was the day of the wedding, all in needlepoint. And the girls were taken away and blown away by it, So she did pearl work and beads, and she did a wonderful job.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah, it's so much more meaningful than something from a store, yeah.
Yeah, I think that and some of the girls have used it at, weddings since and events that they've gone on. So it's something they'll always have. Yeah. Right.
That's great. Yep. Yeah. So you wanted to buy needlepoint now? Is it something you'd looked at for some time or?
No, it's not something, but I always believe that, it's a great community. Needlepointers are a phenomenal community. I've met some of the nicest people, and I've met some of my dearest friends all across the country going to classes. And I thought promoting the art would be a wonderful thing to do, and it would be something that I could share. I did know people across. I used to run retreats and I did events, and I thought it would be a good segue in getting people still involved in needlepoint and the art.
Yeah, it's what? How old is that magazine?
Well, Elizabeth had it for 13 years, yeah. And then Joyce had it for quite a few years prior to that. So, yeah, probably about 25 years, I would think, at least.
For any hobby magazine, that's impressive.
It's a treasure in the industry, right? I mean, both previous owners made it something that everybody wanted to have, right? So keeping it going is I think something that's a necessity.
Yeah.
So
you're the editor. How does it all break down in terms of who does what?
So
other than everybody dig in because we got to get the next issue out.
Right. So I serve as editor. I'll pull content that I think. I will research. I spent hours upon hours over the spring and summer looking at canvases, and then we would have a meeting, and I kind of proposed canvases to see what everybody thought. Marissa does more of the social media, targeting some of our younger members, encouraging our older members, senior people to also be involved. But she's hoping with the social media that will target more millennials. She also oversees the advertising. Mm-hmm. Then Karen is like the finance person. She'll take care of all of the subscriptions and the databases and getting all invoices out. So she's more the financial end. But I'll come up with ideas, and then we'll have a meeting a couple times a month, and I propose, and then I get their input to see what they think.
But in terms of content and producing the magazine, that's on you, huh?
That's pretty much on me, yeah. So not bad for a special, I started writing the newsletter. I'm like, not bad for a special ed teacher. But but yes, but we're trying to change. We don't want to change the magazine. The magazine's a phenomenal magazine. We're just going to put a different spin on it, right? Everybody adds a little bit of a different flair when they take on something. So, I always held back on previous order, magazines when it was a theme, and maybe that was a theme I didn't do, right? So we're going to stay away from themes as a total, trying to make sure that every issue has things that a variety of stitchers would like, so that maybe there's something in each magazine that you would care for.
Excellent.
If you don't do, like, I'm very patriotic. I do a lot of patriotic, but if you don't do patriotic, then the whole July issue of being patriotic would be a tough one, Yep. So.
Right. Or you don't do Halloween, or you don't do Christmas, any of those major ones, and then
100%, or Easter, right? Or you're not really into leprechauns, or,
right.
So I'm thinking about, and also we have such a vast group of people of all different nationalities and religions and things, to kind of keep it anything with a religious tone or a holiday tone that's related to a religion, or we're going to be very respectful of that,
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's the way you have to do editorial content, is exactly that. You got to think about your whole audience, because it's real easy to get sucked into a trap of the Christmas issue and the Easter issue and the 4th of July issue and the landscape issue, or any number of things. Yeah, and you cut out your audience.
Right, because if you don't do that, like I, for a very long time, didn't do flowers, anything with flowers. I do them now. I'm sure Beth and Gary, you had a certain type of look that you went for. Our interests change as we go along, right? So if you don't do flowers, but the whole issue has a lot of flowers in it, then we didn't give you an opportunity to use that resource of the magazine to your best interest, right? Yep. So we're hoping that everybody feels like there's a little bit of a slice of everything, and we're hoping, we've been in contact with a lot of different designers, getting a lot of different voices of, styles of canvases in. And so we hope it works. We've been getting a lot of positive feedback for it. And all the stores know. They received an email from me 2 weeks ago giving them an update of what painted canvases are going to be in the next 3 issues. This way they have the ability to have it in their shops. Should they want to, I keep thinking, if I was a shop owner and I have the magazine sitting on my counter, why would I not want one of those canvases in my shop that someone comes in looking for,
Right.
So we're hoping to target a larger group of audience and more interests along the way.
Well, so I have to admit, you sucked me in when I saw the wreath.
Andrea, that's a low bar. Trust me.
Wait a second.
Well, as a needle,
are you harassing me?
No.
All of our bars are low as needle pointers, right? We get sucked in pretty easily. But,
well, the wreath is gorgeous, and I've been following people on Instagram, like Stitcher's Garden, the one in Illinois, except in Chicago. I can't remember what town. I like it that you're incorporating the shops into it, because we want to encourage the industry, not just one part of it, but all across.
Any shops I've been talking to, and anybody I've been talking to, the magazine is a resource, right? And it's to promote shops, it's to promote designers, and it's to educate and promote stitching, right? Mm-hmm. So working all together, when I had done, I don't know if you had seen me over the summer, I had done what I called a pilgrimage. I went to like 13 stores in like 3 days, traveling up the coast.
Yes, I saw that. I was jealous.
It was a great trip. One thing that a lot of the shop owners were saying to me is they were having a hard time getting people into their shop since COVID. In talking to stitchers from all over, they're missing the fellowship. So when we spoke to Cam about having her wreath in the magazine, I thought that this would be able to combine both, and us working together and partnering with shops across the country. And it kind of blew up. Everybody's enjoying it. We're getting tons of emails how they're enjoying their working with people again, whether it's virtual or it's in a shop, or, shops have people in there. I was at the Edwardian Needle on Saturday, and she had all her people there. They were all sitting there doing their stitching, and who brought stash, and they had the support if they needed it, and it was great. They were very, very excited. So I'm happy that it was a big success, and that it was
Right.
so well. We're about community, right? And the magazine's supposed to be about community. So, and I'm a big supporter of that.
Yeah, and what I liked about the wreath is that it's got such a nice variety of stitches that if you're a beginner and you want to expand your repertoire, some people are doing it as just little squares. So you don't have to do the whole leaf. You can just do like a little sampler of all those stitches.
100%. And you've now built a resource.
Right.
You've built like a resource that's your own, and you could look at that. That's great. I saw somebody on Saturday who was doing all the stitches in dreidels.
Oh, what a great idea.
She had all individual dreidels drawn instead of her leaves, and she was going to make like a little banner, and she was going to hang it as though it was just going to be like a drape across her fireplace or her doorway or whatever. And it was a great idea, right?
Yep.
People are changing colors, and I know that Cam, who designed it, Cam Wensloff, she's already started stitching another one, but in a totally different colorway because she was so blown away by the colors. So yeah. It's exciting. It's exciting to see what people have brought to the table and all the different colors and the different perspectives they have on what they could do. So it's been wonderful, and everybody's sharing their talents and what they've developed, with everybody, which is even better.
It's so cool to hear you talk about this because as a former teacher and magazine editor, I've been editing trade magazines forever, and I always view it as not appreciably different from teaching. It's just a different classroom and a different medium for delivering the information.
You're right, 100%. I think once you're a teacher, you're always a teacher in
Yes.
everything you do, right? And the one thing that we've gotten so many wonderful emails, and a lot of them are loving the teaching points and the glossary, and that just comes from my background, right? It's maybe somebody doesn't understand that, so let's explain that part. But you're right. I think a lot of it has to do with the educating your readers, and so the background does help, I think.
Oh, I think without a doubt. I mean, I've always believed that teachers are, in terms of the business world, one of the great untapped resources because of the skills and knowledge you have to stand in front of a classroom and execute a lesson. That just applies everywhere, and understanding how people learn and being able to deliver that is it's a powerful set of tools. And when you have a magazine that you can put in front of people and deliver that kind of knowledge, it really makes a difference.
I think you also think about it. I'm sure maybe you agree with me. Like when you're looking at all different learning styles too, right?
Oh,
so, as a special ed teacher, I always looked at different learning styles. Something in print, something visual. They're hearing it, so they're getting it through different media sources. They're getting it all different ways, even in the magazine. I think that's crucial too, because we're all different types of learners. When you see the next issue, we did the stitch guides in 3 different ways in the next issue, because not everybody really wants to read a full paragraph of text,
Right.
So one of them that was done, we're doing the Umbrella Girl by Painted Pony, and that's in a chart form. This is the area, this is the thread, this is the stitch, this is what, and then all the charts follow it. So that's a different format. So we'll kind of get a feel of what people like, right? Another one's more like the leaves this time is in bullet form. It's the name of the leaf and the leaf and the stitch, what 2 threads or 3 threads or whatever you're using in bullet form, the image, the chart. So we'll see what, it'll hit all different learning styles. Not everybody wants to read all that text, or they may have to read it a couple of times, but if it's in chart form, it's very concise, and a lot of people like that better. So we'll see. We'll see what the feedback is from it.
Yeah, that's a great idea, because you're right. So people learn in so many different ways, and to be able to hit those areas. And I'm curious, how are you going to use your website? I noticed that you said something about the leaves.
Well, the finishing instructions are on there. The partnering, when you go in there, you could see who's partnering with us, because of course we always want to support those people. There's also finishing instructions in there and Cam did photos to match the steps of the directions. So that's also in there. We're going to be putting together, I just started sending, Bill, who used to work for Elizabeth, still works for us, and he's overseeing the website, and he helps us with all the charting. And he does some of the phone calling that Marissa can't do for advertising during the day when she's at work. So he'll be putting in photos. So as people start, we're encouraging people to send us pictures of those leaves and let us, highlight them. And we're asking stores to send us pictures when they do their clubs, and we'll put them on the website. We were very excited. One or two people sent us pictures of a piece that was in the January issue that they did. And we're going to put that as another page, like almost like a museum, so that their work can be highlighted a little bit. And, I think everybody likes to have their work appreciated, right? So
right.
It'll give, the resources there. We've also now gone digital. So millennials, one of the comments that they had made to my daughter and to myself was that they don't want a hard copy. They want to be able to sit on a bus or on a train and open up the app and be able to read the magazine on an app or through their phone. So we've already gone digital with a digital subscription. So the year 2023, you could subscribe to all 6 issues, and you'll be able to keep that for the duration, just like you would your magazine, but it'll be on a little bookshelf when you log on. And we've had great response from the millennials. A lot of them have jumped on board with the digital. So, we're trying to make the website a little bit more interactive and offering it, and that's just putting a younger person's spin on it, right? My daughter is young, and she's like, we got to make this whole website more user-friendly. And what are they going on there for? Let them get resources and stitches and things like that. So
good to hear that, because that is at least for me, is a great concern, is that if we don't find ways to draw young people in, this hobby will just simply go away. And that's how you do it. You got to, I think Debbie Rowley said it, you got to go where the young people are at. You got to go find them, and you got to reach out to them to get them involved. And so there you go, putting it on their tablets. And
again, that's the best way that they learn, and the best way. They're so used to doing everything digitally. You have to offer that resource at this point. Or we're going to shut out that entire group of people. And we want them to grow, and we want them to grow as stitchers. So,
right.
I think it was a crucial piece to add to it, So that just went live about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Excellent.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's exciting news. That's great news.
So how are you envisioning the magazine's makeup? Mainly projects still, or are you bringing in other things to add some more dimension to the content?
Well, we've invited everyone to write for us, right? Anybody who wants to. We got rid of what was called like those department heads, so that I want everyone to feel like it's a community magazine. Right? It's not just my magazine and I get to put whatever I want in there. So we want people from all walks of life who have needlepoint knowledge. I mean, there's so many stitchers out there who have so much to offer that they're like, we have to tap those as resources for everybody, So we've been asking people to submit and write for us, and we've gotten quite a few new people to write, which is great. So we'll encourage them. We want the people who used to write for us, we want to continue them, and they've all been Everybody's been approached and encouraged to write and be part of us still. I'm gonna try to also incorporate some smaller projects in there. Not everybody does big projects. So like in the issue we have coming up in March, there's the self-finishing clutches in there. And one of the shops, they took 2 of the same canvases and did 2 different stitch guides for the same canvas for that new designer. Mm-hmm. So we're going to target some of those millennial designers as well. Like there's a whole bunch of new young girls that's really attracting our millennials into needlepoint, and we're going to try to get them in. So we're going to try to add a few little extra small projects. It won't be, let's say, 5 or 6 like this one. I think March we have 7 projects in there. Mm-hmm. Counted, painted, a variety of different things, just to try to attract different interests. And we'll see how we grow. We'll see what feedback is, and we'll see how we can add to it and make it better, right? It's always having that door open to make things better.
Well, that's the thing with magazines, is you have to let them evolve. I've seen the mistake many times where people, this is our magazine, this is how we do it, and good luck changing it. And you can't do that. You have to let it evolve. You have to let it mold itself to the audience. And
I think so. Just like our needlepoint is changed over the years, right? We had to be open to that. At one time I didn't do any open stitch work. I'm sure you also, the 2 of you, didn't do open stitch work, but I wouldn't dream of not having a canvas that didn't have open stitch work at this point, right? You have to be willing to open and try new things, new styles. And the same thing with the magazine. I think we have to grow as it grows. We take in maybe a little bit of a new look, maybe a new category that we think everybody is loving. So we're open to it, and by encouraging people to share what they have, I think that'll automatically evolve.
Yeah.
Right. Because you don't want to be, like you said, the industry changes and you want to change with the industry and grow with it and not go against it.
Right. And we don't want the industry to die, Right. The only way for that to happen is to be willing to evolve with it. So, and we want these young girls to be stitching, we want new people. I went to the shop on Saturday for the first Leaf event in Jersey. And I would tell you probably about 70% of them were brand new stitchers.
Oh, excellent.
They had never, and they weren't young, they were middle-aged people. They're retiring. They're retired and they're looking for a hobby, and I think it was great. We just brought in new people, and who brought in their daughter with them. So I think there's a lot of room for growth in the needlepoint world. I just think everybody has to be willing to do it, So we're going to do our part.
Yeah, that's great. That we just simply got to find ways to get new people, young people in, and not just to taste it, but to get involved and get excited about it. And you're right, there are a lot of young needlepoint canvas designers, young ladies who are doing really great work, and we need to feed those to the stitchers. Yeah,
right. I mean, I know there's a whole group. I know a group in New Jersey who they do all small. A lot of them do clutches constantly. But these young girls, the one comment my daughter made is, don't make all the canvases be big canvases. Girls, millennials are stitching on a bus or stitching on a train, or they need a small piece. Or, they're sitting outside waiting for their kids to come out of, and I mean, I used to do the same thing when my son was in wrestling or my daughter was in cheerleading. I was sitting there with a small canvas sitting in my car waiting for them to come out, and I was stitching, right?
Right. And I was just at the airport, and I was doing cross stitch, but I was like, I have to have something small that's easy to put away.
You have to keep thinking that way, Mom, because these girls are traveling or they're going on a business trip and they want to pack something small with them. And so it's opening your eyes up to new different things, right? So when we look at canvases, we're incorporating a lot of smaller canvases as well as extra pieces in the magazine. We've changed. The one big change I think we've done is we're now encouraging shops to do the stitch guide writing. In my pilgrimage over the summer, I mean, there was some amazingly talented shops. I walk in and I'm like, I was in awe of some of the work that they had. And if you didn't go to their shop, you wouldn't know it, right? So what we started to do was ask shops to start stitch guiding the pieces to showcase their work, right? And to showcase what they do in their shop. Mm-hmm. And I think that they've been enjoying it, and I think that, quite a bit of the feedback that we've gotten is people are enjoying the fact that they're getting different shops from across the country to stitch guide the pieces.
Right.
Right. So I think that that's a way for shops to also showcase their work and promote their work as well. And if you like their work, maybe you're going to go onto their website and see what classes they offer. Again, promoting them.
Right.
Well,
or if you're traveling by them, you can go and stop in and see what they have as things open up even more.
And those are the two key areas, the young people and shops. There's got to be a way to keep the shops going and support them and keep people walking in their doors and ordering from them.
100%.
Yeah. It's,
it's become hard, I think, with the whole COVID, where everything has become social media related. So it's like sometimes it looks like it's a frenzy because everybody in creation has the same things on their websites, But when you walk into a shop in a brick and mortar, you really see a personality of the location and of the person who owns the shop. So I always find that fascinating, that you really get a good flair for the person who owns the shop and the people who work there when you walk into one. And I think there's nothing like walking into a shop and being able to see threads and touch them and look at canvases up close. And we have to support our brick and mortar. So we were hoping that by having shops get involved with our canvases, that would do that. That would help that along the way.
Yeah, it sounds like you're doing an excellent job of laying the groundwork for the magazine to be at the core of a lot of outreach and interaction in all the elements of the hobby, and just help everybody feed each other and develop that community.
Yeah, I said to shops, you have at least 5 to 7 stitch guides in each magazine. You can make a class and you don't have to do a lot of work for that, right? Everybody has their magazine. They sit down and you could do a class with a canvas. The May issue, the front cover of the magazine was stitch guided by Tony Maneri. I mean, any shop owner could certainly run that as a class, help support them in with that particular canvas. It's a beautiful canvas. It's from the collection. It's a Paul Brent design, and Tony did a fabulous stitch guide for it. So I think that the more they use that even as a resource, I think it's going to help shops. It takes a little bit of burden of what they have to come up and think about. It's already been thought out for them,
right.
Right.
And as a teacher, I always appreciated that when something came down the pike and it made life a little easier.
Yeah. Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? Yep.
Right.
Well, and that's just it. The shop people, I mean, anybody who owns a shop learns that the vast majority of your time is just ordering and doing paperwork and administrative work. And you may have big plans to do all kinds of exciting things that bring stitchers in, but I need 10 minutes to get it organized. And so when you present them with, all right, here's a class, make it happen. It makes it, and then that feeds more people into their store, and the whole thing just, everybody wins. Right. Yes.
Logic tells you, I'm sure both of you are the same. When I go into a shop, I can't leave with nothing.
No.
I never leave with something. I hit 13 shops, and I was with the man I'm seeing, and he's like, you bought more stuff? He goes, you literally can have a store. And I'm like, I can't walk into a shop and not support a brick and mortar. I can't, whether I bought canvases or I bought threads or I bought whatever I bought, I would never walk out of a shop and not spend money because I want that shop to stay open, right? So.
Yeah, help them. Anyway, I love your justification. That's perfect. I love it.
Yeah, I'm going with that.
I'm
going with that. Yeah, because I just buy stuff because I want it, but no, I'm going with the higher ground here. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It was funny because I moved from a larger house and I downsized, and my kids and I had bought this big, huge, giant container, which really probably was meant for outside, and my kids are helping me unpack, and all of a sudden, them and their significant others, they're all looking at my container. I'm like, and the gentleman I see is 6'5", so he sat in the container. That's how big the container was. And my kids are like, are you not embarrassed? This is filled with canvases. Like, no, I'm not embarrassed at all. Look at all my treasures. This is my treasures, And they're like, you're sick. I'm like, it's an
no.
I'm like, no, it's not. So I have friends who put their canvases that haven't been stitched up on their walls. To them, they've just beautified their walls. Sure.
No, you're not sick because I'm right there with you, and I know Beth is right there with you, and we can find 500 other people who are too. So no,
yeah,
you're normal.
Every time I see somebody talk about their stash on Facebook, I always feel a lot better. I'm like, I'm not one out alone. I'm one of many.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, you're normal. It's quite all right. Yeah. Just have them give us a call. We'll help them out.
Sounds good.
So are we gonna stay with 6 times, or are you looking to increase that, or are you in the interim gonna just have more online stuff?
We're gonna stay with 6 times, and then we're gonna be promoting a lot more with resources on the website. That's been a work in progress. We're having meetings constantly with the tech guy to try to even improve our website. So no, we're gonna keep it the same with the 6 issues. We just did, like I said, added the digital. The newsletters will continue. I just wrote the newsletter that'll go out tomorrow or on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll stay the same. So I for now the 6 issues is works for us.
Yeah.
I think it works for everybody else too.
Well, it can be in terms of sheer production. It can be enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we kept the same printer that has been printing it for the last 13 years, but they're out in Oregon and we're in Staten Island, New York. So it's thank goodness for digital, everything being digital and technology. But I think what happens is I think if we went more than 6, getting the content and having quality content would probably suffer.
Yeah. Yeah.
My thinking anyway,
It might, so. Yeah. Or yeah, it depends. I mean, you got to be able to support it. The financial end of it gets in the way too. It just costs a lot of money to produce magazines. So,
true.
But yeah, it's interesting that, I mean, I started ages ago when we had typewriters, and I don't even know if I could tell you where our printer is anymore. Because I know it's moved around, and we stay with the big umbrella company, but where it's actually printed, and it just doesn't matter anymore. You just send files, and it happens, and it gets mailed, and it just doesn't matter. And that's kind of one of the beauties of it, is you can do your magazine from anywhere too.
Anywhere.
You don't have to sit in an office. Yeah.
100%. Right. 100%. The world has changed a great deal.
Since you bought the magazine, are you still able to do some of your own stitching, or have you just been overwhelmed?
Yeah, well, my son got engaged, so he and his fiance are hoping for the same display I did for my daughter. So I've been working on her. Yes, I wind up. I'm a late night stitcher often, so I'm up to like 1:32 in the morning. So I tend to start stitching at like 9:30 or 10. and I'll stitch for myself at that point, whether it's for them or, you know, or for myself. I squeeze in a piece for me every once in a while.
Yeah. 9:30
You know.
or 10, that's when I start making mistakes and put the needles away. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I kind of get on a roll at that hour of the night. So sometimes I'm up till like 2 and finally have to say, I really have to go to bed. And maybe I should put the needle down for a while.
So are you a monogamous stitcher? Do you just stitch on one project at a time?
No. I should be, but I'm not. No. Depends on my mood for that night. If I feel like doing big things with beads, I'll pick up the one that I need beads on. If I feel like just doing a lot of open work, it all depends on what I'm in the mood for or what I think I need time frame, what has to get out to a finisher for the bridal showers or whatever, or, that I'd like up. So it depends on my mood. I'm sure you're the same, right?
I am, yes. I have to have more than one project going at a time. But, some people are monogamous, so I've got to ask,
They are. Quite a few people that I know. I had taught a notebook class in Jersey, and they only stitched one project at a time. And I said, well, try some of these stitches this week until we meet next week. They're like, well, we can't. We already started our project for the week. So, we're working on I would never. I have a bag full of probably about 20 projects sitting not far from where I sit in my living room. It depends on my mood.
Excellent.
Send us some phone numbers. We got to help those people. They need 3 or 4 things at once here. Come on.
Yeah, I know. But that's, everybody stitches the way they feel is right? So, it depends on the type of person you are. If you have to finish a project completely through because that's your personality, then that works, right? That wouldn't work for me necessarily.
No.
No. Just like you'll very rarely see tent stitching or basket weave on my pieces because I just find that boring. But that's me. I find that boring. Some people find it extremely relaxing, So if I have to do a space that has like basket weave, like a year ago, I was doing an ornament because I did a collection of ornaments for my daughter for her tree, and I did it as part of the shower display. So everything that meant something to them, I stitched on an ornament. And anything that had to do with basket weave, I picked that piece up, I put it down, I picked that piece up. It's hard to do that than big canvases, So, but just it depends on your style, right? Your learning style and what your personality.
Sounds like you really set a high bar for your son's wedding. Ouch.
I know. It was a tough thing to follow, but I'm doing it. So as long as it's appreciated and they love the pieces, that's all that matters.
Yep. Now you've got this April 1 stitch in coming up. Tell us about that.
So, I believe part of the job and the responsibility of Needlepoint, the magazine itself, Needlepoint Now, is to promote stitching, right? And to promote community. So I always love when people get together to stitch. I always think it's nice to speak people different who have different careers and they've been brought to stitching in different ways. And so we're going to be doing it in Broad Channel, Queens, which is right in the middle of Jamaica Bay. So it's at a yacht club, and everybody who comes to stitch for the day will have a beautiful view of the water. And it's light, it's airy. We have a couple of millennial groups already coming in and joining us, which is great. They have clubs all over, so they're all joining us already. So it'll be a day of fun, and we'll have food, and we'll have drinks, and we'll have plenty of raffles and giveaways. And we have 2 shops coming to bring some of their items with them so that people, of course, needlepointers have to shop.
Of course.
So, we'll have 2 shops coming and, sharing what they have to offer. It should be a lot of fun. So it'll be meeting up with old friends and meeting a whole bunch of new friends. So, and building community.
Sounds like a fun day. Yeah.
Yeah. We're looking forward to it.
Is this the first of what you hope will be kind of an ongoing series of these?
Well, one of the things that people requested was classes and workshops and stitch-ins, So I've run a number of retreats in the past in New Jersey, and we always had a great turnout, and we always had a lot of fun. But that was a weekend, and I think it's hard for people to do a full weekend these days. Life is busy. So doing full day stitch-ins, we'd like to do them all over the location, all over different locations, and incorporate shops from all different locations to join us. So, yeah,
that's a great idea, because that is a problem for, to get away for a whole weekend, if you're a young mom, or if, you've got your caregiver for somebody.
100%. Or just, your spouse is older and you don't want to leave them for the whole weekend because it's a little bit of a challenge for them. It's one day anybody can do, but the whole weekend is a little tough for people. And we would lose that other group. We would lose that younger group, those moms or newly married or, so we want to incorporate everybody. So we're hoping to do it all over the country and have stores help, join in with us.
Right. Yeah. Yet another way to involve the stores. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, people have asked for me to do the pilgrimages, and do them in different locations. It was funny. Just shops are like, when are you coming up to our area? So that could be down the road once we have things under our belt. But it was fun to go in and see different shops and meet. And I think, but again, that's a certain group of people who have that time to do a whole weekend.
Right.
You
have to have that ability. So,
right. And you have to have shops close enough together. I mean, out here in where I live, you have a long drive to get from a needlepoint shop to needlepoint shop, unless you did it like just in the Chicago area. There's enough. There's a concentration there, but where I live, I mean, there's just nothing. That's the closest.
I mean, New Jersey, I could probably hit 3 or 4 shops in a day because there's enough of them. But you're right. There has to be an area, South Carolina, North Carolina area. I hit 3 shops in one day when I was in that pilgrimage. They were close enough. There's enough shops in that area, but you would have to do it based on location and what was available. Same thing with Florida. I hit a bunch of shops in one day, but you have to have that time to do it, and you have to, it serves a certain group of people can make it, and other people wouldn't be able to,
Right. But that's just how things are. That's life.
Right. But the day in stitch-in's a little bit easier for people. You could allot the day, so we're hoping that helps people.
Right.
Yep. Sounds good. All right. So when you sent that first issue to the printer, was it relief or excitement or a mixture?
It was a mixture. We had a few computer glitches. The morning we were sending it, the Adobe program went down and had to. So that was a little stressful because they told us it was all fine, but so some of the corrections we made that week didn't correct. So it was a little stressful, but it was a relief, and it was nice to have one under our belt. And, this one's a lot easier to put together, a lot easier.
Yep.
So, like anything else, you do it more than once and, it gets a little easier each time.
Yep.
So,
Software. Ugh.
Computers, good and bad. Computers, good and bad.
So true. Well, Andrea, this is exciting times for you and for the hobby. Congratulations on buying the magazine and getting this underway. And it sure sounds like you have a lot of exciting things on the horizon for needlepointers. That's great.
Well, I thank you for having us.
Yep.
We appreciate it.
Well, thanks for doing it, and thanks to everyone for listening.
Thank you. Thank you very much for both of you.